All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of The New Frontier. I am joined here with my friend Max, and today we have a very special guest who I have wanted to have on the podcast for a long time. So, the first time I heard about our guest was actually on the Kevin King podcast, and he was one of the first people I heard talking about AI within our sphere of like Amazon and e commerce. I thought that it's a fantastic episode. And so I've been hearing about him from a lot of different thought leaders in our space. And I so really wanted to talk to him about AI. And he's today here. He is the founder of AI Plus Automation. And he's also a co founder and educator at the AI Automation course, which I really want to find out more about. But he's also really well known. Person in our kind of Amazon and e-commerce space because I would say he is still very much known as one of the I guess experts and thought leaders in everything to do with the Amazon ranking algorithm. And so like I've seen that he has also incredible thriving Insta channel, TikTok channel where he educates everything about AI automation. So this is going to be a really interesting and super educational episode. I want to welcome Anthony Lee to the stage. Hey, Anthony.
Hello, hello. Thank you so much for that incredibly kind introduction.
No,
Welcome.
thank you so much for being here. We are really excited to have you. Um, I guess my first question is, how did you transition from all things Amazon to all things AI and automation?
Okay. So actually, I would make a correction there. It wasn't all things Amazon. It was very specifically the Amazon algorithm and ranking, just because
Mhm.
I never took the path down PPC. So that was always a weakness of mine because I was so focused on like, how do we do this organic ranking thing? What levers do you pull to make that happen? So
Mhm.
I was there, and in the process of being there, I was creating chatbots. That was part
Mhm.
of the whole process of helping brands rank. So I was creating these chatbots in a service called ManyChat, which is still around. I don't know that anybody uses it for this purpose anymore, but at the time, these were ManyChat chatbots that were driving customers through the process of search, find, buy, and doing all the
Yeah.
stuff that we know used to work for ranking on Amazon. And I loved it because I was making my chatbots as elaborate as possible, right? I mean, like way more than just here's a coupon code or here's the link to go buy. It was leading people down these decision trees and getting them to make the purchase, search pages upon pages, by the way, and then make the purchase, and then submit a screenshot, and then it would read the screenshot, and then go to the next phase and then get a review. Like it was very elaborate. So it turns out that I loved the technical process more than I did the actual, results. Anyway, that's where I was, and that's kind of where my head was. And then Amazon kept evolving. It became a lot more difficult to do those little hacks and tricks and things to rank, right? Because they started really kind of cracking down on some of the easy wins. And I mean, good for them and for the customer too. It made it to where people had to actually focus a lot more on building a brand. But those hacks stopped working. So at that time, it was like all this nervous energy in this automation space. What do I do with it? So I just started building automations for fun because the chatbots weren't working for ranking anymore. I just wanted to do all this stuff for fun. And I was doing that from 2018 on, right? So everything was
Mhm.
happening in the Amazon world, and then on the side, building stuff. So the moment that GPT-3 became available to everybody, I was blown away. This was amazing. I was so excited. Fun fact, I actually had a GPT account back when they introduced 002. I used
Oh,
it
wow.
one time and I was like, this is trash. And then I didn't think anything of
Only
it.
for you.
And then GPT-3 came out and I was like, this is a lot different. So the minute that they opened up the module for make.com, which used to be Integromat when I was using it originally, from that day, literally the day it happened, I was building workflows. And I just started just for fun, because this is what I did for fun. And I started posting them on Instagram because it was just so interesting to me. And my account just started blowing up. Like, people just coming in waves of hundreds and hundreds a day, friend requests or followers, and people hitting me up via DM. Like, how did you do this? Can you do this for me? And I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I got to do something with this. That made the decision for me to start a business. And it was, I know ecom. I came from ecom. So my first shot at this was, I'm just going to sell the blueprints, like the templates for these automations on a website. And I spun up a terrible website, which still is not great because web design is not something that I excel at, and just started selling these blueprints. And that's where it all began. Literally the shift was very organic, came from a place where, my strengths and interests already were. And then it just grew. And to the point where I was almost forced into it because I was getting like inundated. So
people were making you do it.
Basically.
Love it.
So what kind of solutions are you building with these automations?
I mean, at first, it was a lot of the really like popular stuff, right? Generate content. So imagery but the automation part of it was, after we generate it, how do we get it in front of people? So it was, posting on various channels and stuff like that. So that was where it first started. And actually the biggest video that blew up was how to automate sending tweets. This is before I even knew how to make like a whole thread. It was just a tweet. This is how you automate making a tweet and posting it to Twitter, back when it was still Twitter. So back then that's what it was. And then it evolved to more business specific stuff, because a lot of smaller agencies were becoming really interested in this idea of utilizing AI to automate certain things. So then it was, how do you take lead information in and use that to move it from one place to another, right? So we have a lead intake form. How do we put that into our CRM with certain notes? How do we automatically respond to them? Or, how do we update the Monday board with logistics information after an order comes in, that kind of thing. And then on the Amazon side, there were a ton of people that were like really interested in this, but specifically it was agencies that were like, look, our main driver is these lead magnets. That are usually, they consist of some type of audit, right? So we're doing an audit and we're looking at all of this Amazon listing information, and this audit takes us so long. Can we cut that time down by allowing AI to do some of this stuff? And it was starting to take pressure off of their team by doing like bulk analysis of multiple ASINs all at once, and then spitting out the most important information and moving it over here and doing some more manipulations. Like, a lot of these agencies will have proprietary formulas, for example, for determining keyword performance in PPC, right? I don't know how they work. I just know that this is what they're saying. Like, X% of this keyword goes here, makes this many sales, equals good. So I just applied those inside of these automations, and it would run them automatically. The next thing you know, we're able to save a ton of time by taking nothing more than ASINs or listing URLs and performing a big portion of the audit, all the way up to the point where you need a human looking at it going, okay, this is right. We're going to take this part out. Boom, here you go.
Amazing. And so this is like, let's drill down a little bit into that, because I think a lot of our audience are Amazon sellers or e-commerce sellers. So if you are right now, if you have a brand and you want to automate a lot of, I guess, processes and operations, where would you start? Like, which would you say are the lowest hanging fruit in terms of processes that are ripe for automation?
I would say, all right. So specifically for Amazon sellers that have teams of like VAs, right? When you get to the point, most sellers, when they get to a certain point, like they start having to pull in some help and they need some virtual assistants. When you're at that level, a lot of the available automations are the ones that are really going to help them be more efficient at their job. Or if you grow to that level and you don't have like a team of VAs yet, a lot of this is going to make it where maybe you only need one as opposed to five. But this is stuff basically reviewing reports, aggregating reports, putting the report information. That's a lot of it, right? So imagine how much time people spend taking report information from one place, because Amazon doesn't really make it very easy for you to see everything you need to see all in one place, unless you're like in the dashboard. But even then, it's like, okay, well, now I got to get this knowledge somewhere else where it's useful. So a lot of that stuff is taking the reports and then moving data from one place to another so that your proprietary formulas work. That's a big one. Another one is competitor analysis, right? Like you have somebody, you want to expand your product line. You have somebody dedicated to going through and combing through, maybe a specific list of websites. A lot of that can be automated too. And the cool part is it's like, it doesn't all have to be AI. So a lot of people I see shy away from it because they're like, I don't think that AI would make really good decisions for my brand on what products to sell. It's like, okay, well, don't have it do that then. But what you can have it do is go out there and scrape all of the information for your VA, parse it so that it's super easy to read, take out, like put filters in. So it's like, these are the only ones that we want to look at, right? And then the next thing you know, their job, a 4-hour job becomes a 30-minute job because of that. And that's the kind of opportunity I think that's best for e-commerce sellers. That and logistic backend. That's not as applicable to Amazon because most people use FBA. But if you're doing FBM or if you have e-commerce and you're actually handling logistics, man, there's so much you could, because all that is triggers that are waiting for tracking information or triggers that are waiting for an order to get tracking information. Yeah. And it's so manual unless you have an automation in place that takes that and then sends it to the appropriate place. So those are probably the lowest hanging fruit.
So Anthony, I'm curious, you've clearly been doing this a very long time. What's your sense of how ready the base model LLMs are for production to be automating, this, everyone talks about agentic workflows and this kind of thing. Like, is your sense that we're now at a place where it's ready, or when did you think it got to that pace when it's production ready?
I mean, that's an interesting way to frame that question. So I would say that the tools have always been production ready as long as you're using them properly. And I think one of the things that misconceptions that a lot of people have is they feel like they treat AI like it's this monolith. It's either good and it can do everything, or it's not good and it can't do everything. And it's like, there's a lot of stuff in between. You got to treat AI like it's a software tool. And when you treat it like it's a software tool, I don't use my calculator to do certain things. I wouldn't use AI to do certain things. And when I want to use AI to do the things it can do, you just have to be very explicit. Even agentic, right? All agentic means, the only thing that it means when you're using an agent is that it has the ability to autonomously make decisions essentially about the tools that it has access to, right? Should I use the image generator right now? No, the user asked me a question about text. I should use document retrieval instead. Like, it has the ability to make that decision. But, so as long as you still put guardrails up and say, okay, well, this is what I need you to do. I need you to use these tools when appropriate to answer user questions or whatever. Yeah, 100%. And tons of companies are using AI in production. You obviously know that more than most, Max. Like it's there. You just have to write the code to handle it properly. And then you have to write the code to handle errors properly. And then as long as you can steer it in the right direction, it's a wonderfully valuable tool for plenty of businesses.
Yeah, I love that framing. I agree. It is it's always been production ready. It's just the scope of that production was once narrow and is now very wide, but it's not yet everything, but it's just how you use it.
And actually, to like, I guess on the flip side, like, what would you say? Because we all see that at the moment there is the whole topic around agentic AI, around automation is very like on everybody's thoughts. But do you feel like everything should be automated, or do you feel like there's actually areas of businesses that should be still in the human remit? Like, what do you feel like it shouldn't be AI'd, it should be automated?
I love that. What shouldn't be AI'd? Apostrophe D. That was great.
I use that verb all the time now.
That's so wonderful. No, I don't think everything should be automated. And I would say, though, it's less about what should and shouldn't be applied to with AI, and more about like where your business would benefit the most from an AI taking over this particular process. So one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make, especially smaller businesses, it happens a lot, is people just want an easy button. They're like, where can I just press the button and it automates everything? And it's like, if that's your approach to business, I think you're going to be really disappointed in the outcome. It's not about an easy button. It's not about automating everything. It's about like, where do your strengths and weaknesses lie, right? Where are you at that you don't need the help? You know what I mean? A lot of, going back to the example of Amazon seller, a lot of Amazon sellers, they, from the very beginning, right, you would see Amazon brand owners talk about how they personally handle certain levels of customer support because they don't think that any subordinate would be able to encapsulate the passion they have for their brand as much. And like, that's a really good point, right? So kind of going back to that, and this is talk. We were having these conversations in 2015. So we go back to that, right? There's certain things that the owner is going to be really good at. They don't want to offload that. So don't offload that. What you want to look at is, where do you need the help, right? Where are you starting to think, all right, I'm going to need more manpower behind this. And then you start breaking down those processes. Can you have AI do it? Most of the time you can, right? I mean, most of the time AI is perfectly capable as long as it has the right supporting code to handle it. Maybe not write an entire novel, but you could absolutely, here's a real life true story. I developed a chatbot that assisted a person in writing a book, right? The book itself could not have been written well just by clicking a button and giving a topic to the AI. But the AI, the way it was set up, was completely capable of bringing up all the research that needed with citations that needed to be brought up so that a point could be made, formulating the thoughts of the author into something, a more readable format, targeting a specific audience, etc. So, I think that's where we're at now. Like, what should businesses look at? Where do they need it, right? Don't go inventing problems that need to be automated with AI. Like, instead, look at your processes. Where do you need help? Where do you think that you can increase efficiency? Where do you think you can increase output? And then see the best way to utilize AI to do that thing. Yeah.
And sorry, I'm just going to because this is really, really interesting point. And I think it would be great to just drill down a little more. Like, how would you say, what is the best first step for, let's say, a business owner to do this audit? Because, sometimes, especially when you have a bigger team, you don't know the intricacies of a process to the level where it's a problem. You just know that, okay, why am I asked to hire more people? And so what is the best first step for a business owner to be like, okay, well, this is what I need to do in order to figure out what needs to be automated and what needs to be hired for?
So one thing that you can do is hire somebody to do the audit for you. And that goes back to like everything, right? You get a consultant to do the thing that you don't yourself know how to do, right? Same way that you hire CPAs to help you with taxes, you can hire somebody. If you're not if you feel like it might be difficult to find somebody that you trust with that, a couple other things that you can do. One really good one is to kind of step in at more granular level, not fully granular, but at a more granular level, just understand the processes. Interview your team, ask them, how long does it take you to do this? How much effort are you putting into it? Are there places where you feel like you could use some more support? That has a lot more benefits than just figuring out what you can automate. Like there's a whole bunch more good stuff that comes out of that, right? You understand and your team better. Like I feel like that's a really good exercise for any business owner. And then the third step is that you could actually utilize an AI chat interface to kind of get a plan for this, right? So go to Google AI Studio or Claude or GPT Pro and ask one of the higher level reasoning models. Like, this is where I'm at. I feel like we could increase efficiency more. This is my level of understanding of what we currently do, but I know there's probably a lot I don't know. Can you give me an audit plan? And it'll probably do a good job, but it'll at least give you some really good ideas on like where to start with that.
Yeah, 100%. And use voice model, because sometimes I think when you type is like people get off put from just typing. But I find that if I have a problem and I just go backwards and forwards as if I'm chatting to a human, I get much, much deeper into it.
Absolutely.
So, Anthony, one of the things I've been noticing recently, maybe you've noticed it as well, is a lot of these CEOs of the biggest companies in the world, so like Mark Benninghoff from Salesforce, saying that 50% of code is written by AI. Andy Jassy, we talked about his letter last week about Gen AI, but most of these big companies have had some letter that the CEOs published about AI. What do you think? The smaller business owners can learn from this, or do you think it's the right approach? And secondly, what do you think? Like, the agency owners and Amazon sellers should be learning from, at least what these people are saying, whether or not how true it is, is also a separate thing.
So I think that I think that going deep into AI is the right approach, but I don't like the way that these CEOs are framing it's misleading, right? So because when they say things, people who are unaware of how to put together a tech product are gonna mishear it. And they hear, 50% of all code is written by AI. I don't need developers. And it's like, that's not how it works at all. Yes, 50% of the actual printed code instruction might have been generated by an AI, but most of it was thrown out. A lot of it was human edited, like the stuff that lay people would not understand is missing from the context of those statements. So I don't like the way they say them, because I feel like it just leads people down the wrong path. I think that in order to stay relevant, it is important for you to look at how AI can help bring your business to the next level. And I think that it is a good approach to go in there and start thinking about ways to do that. But it's not about replacing people. I feel like that's where people make mistakes, right? We've seen businesses do it, like, I fired so much of my staff, and then a year later you see the headline where they had to hire so many people back. It's like, and the reason they do that is because of statements like, all the code is being written by AI now. You guys are misinterpreting this whole thing. AI is a tool. And so if the right approach is to implement AI, then you have to understand that you're just implementing another tool. It's like, just like a CRM, right? Everybody, when CRMs became a thing, everybody was like, I need a CRM. Yes, you're right. You need a CRM. That does not mean that you stop using an email service, right? You just figure out how to implement it to make your business more efficient. AI is no different.
I actually want to talk a little bit more about the topic around replacing humans, because it's something that I have more and more conversations around. It's something that really worries me. I don't think people necessarily are aware enough. I don't think people pay attention enough. I think there is it's kind of, most people talk about it as something that is happening in the future. Oh, this is going, like, AI is going to replace jobs. But I feel like people don't necessarily understand that it's something that is happening right now. And so I would really love to hear, like, firstly, like, do you feel that this is something you're already observing? Like, for example, are some of the automations that you are building replacing already, like, potential hires? It's not a trick question, but it is a fact. And then the second is, like, what do you think should be the thought process that both employees and company owners should think about from that perspective?
So first off, I absolutely have seen it. It is happening, not just with the automation space, but prime example, you can go look at it too. If you ever go to Amazon and look at books, once upon a time, you would see only a handful had audiobook versions. And the reason they had only a handful did was because it's actually kind of expensive to hire a voice actor to read your entire book. So that's how it was. Now, 95% of all of the books have audio versions. And then when you buy one, because I have, you will hear that it is AI generated. Audiobook voice actors have lost out there. So it is happening. And with regard to the, like process automation, absolutely, it has empowered businesses to reduce the opportunity for future employees. As much as I harp on these are tools that will make your current employees more efficient, you're right. When you look at it from the lens of, but what about like the potentially hiring more people? Yeah. That's a reality of where we're at. The thing about it is I don't think this is like a unique thing to AI. Technology displaces people. This is just what it does. It's not about, be fearful of the jobs that you could miss out on. It's about, you have to adapt to technology. And this has been true well before AI was ever a thing. You have to adapt to technology. There was a time when you needed a lot of incredibly intelligent individuals who understood math before the calculator. And now you can use a calculator. Those incredibly smart mathematical individuals are still needed, but much fewer of them are needed. And that's a specialty now. That's a special niche of places where that's useful. For everybody else, what is the next step then? Okay, well, now you have to figure out how to use the calculator to be valuable. And that's kind of where I feel like we're at now. It's like you adapt with the time and you increase your skill set. If you have a job that is being replaced by AI, so for example, if I was a book audio, an Audible author or actor, and AI took that opportunity from me, I would immediately learn how to use voice in AI, and then I would be the distributor of the voice AI service. You have to learn to use the calculator and be valuable in that way.
100%. And this is the thing, I think it's also a lot of the narrative, as you said before, is framed not well also from that perspective by a lot of the big CEOs, because there also has been a lot of irresponsible actions in the last 2 years where, a CEO goes and fires an entire marketing teams, and then that makes a headline. And then, oh, by the way, AI can't do it so well. So he goes back to rehire them. So I think there is just a lot of, a lot of the narrative is not right. And I also think that a lot of the capabilities of AI are completely overestimated in terms of the quality you can get. You get good quality with AI when you have a human who tells the AI what good looks like. It doesn't work that you just have an AI that churns generic sounding content all day long. But let's say, what do you see, in terms of what you've seen in terms of, I guess, niches or industries, like what would you say are the jobs that will be disrupted the most in the short term, in your opinion?
I mean, definitely the like data processing. A lot of the super basic stuff that you might hire, a virtual person from anywhere in the world to do admin kind of assistant stuff. A lot of that is already, I mean, because I think about it as a business owner, like why a business owner who is trying to make a profit is not going to purposefully go out of their way to pay a human being 10, 15 bucks an hour to do a data process that not only can the AI do for significantly less because the tokens are way cheaper, but also significantly faster. So a lot of the I would say data manipulation is probably the first to go, but we're even going to start see disruptions in a lot of the creative output space. Like we're seeing it with video now, right? That doesn't mean that there isn't a need for, I think it really kind of amplifies the need for
100%.
video specialists,
Yeah.
but that will displace some jobs, right? There's not going to be as many people in the production process anymore. Now you have fewer people and they have to be extra specialized in the ability to take this output from AI and make it look right. But we already see that, and it's starting right now. Ever since VO3 came out, so many agencies were like, we're making our videos with our ad videos with VO3, because I'll tell you what, and it didn't start with VO3. This actually happened before that, probably with Runway 2. AI generated videos, even the terrible ones, they go super viral on social media. There's so many I saw that were terrible, and it was just like millions and millions of views and so much engagement.
And the really funny thing is that I think sometimes people don't always even realize that something is an AI generated video or an AI generated image. And they're like, but why is this baby sheep so small? Oh my God, it's so cute, And it's like,
Exactly.
I mean, this is AI. It screams that it's AI, but I think a lot of people are just completely clueless. So yeah.
Yeah, or are completely amazed. But anyway, so it goes super viral. And, for that reason, a lot of people are using that in their ads, even when it's not perfect, right? It doesn't even have to be like they're just using it in their ads because it gets that attention. And you got to think, before doing this, they were paying somebody to put that video together, right? Like a human being had to produce a video. And now the AI has done that part. And they probably still have an editor, but like whoever was putting together the footage, that job isn't there. That action, those hours of manpower that somebody at one time got paid for isn't there anymore. And that's happening today. Yeah. So I'm sorry if I went on a funny tangent there.
No, absolutely. This is really interesting. I actually want to go into like a little other loop, which is what do you feel is going to be the backlash or the reaction to all of this AI generated everything? Because I feel that right now we're just kind of climbing the sort of the hill with people still unaware, people still consuming it, like assuming it's human generated. And at one point, I think we're going to reach the critical mass where people realize that everything around them is artificial. And so, like, how do you see that? And how do you see like what will happen with brands and brand content and, the macro effects of AI?
I mean, I think there'll be some short-term pain. A lot of people, if you ever spend any time around the anti-AI crowd online, you'll see there's a significant negative kind of context surrounding a lot of this stuff from a not small group of people. So there'll obviously be like a period of time where, just like that one meme that showed the image of the math teachers that were protesting calculators, there'll be a period of time where there's some like actual pushback. Consumers not wanting to support businesses that utilize AI, for example, that'll happen. And then you'll have companies that, because of the optics, will say, hey, we are, like, mark my words, you'll see this, zero AI organization, right? Human only. Like, you'll see that is kind of like a headline for some businesses because they're concerned about the optics as AI gets more and more adopted. But at the end of it, I feel like it'll be no different than every other technological innovation. At the end of it, I really do think there was a time when email was so helpful for everybody. And then spam started happening. And then spam was mostly taken care of, but a lot of the spam we allow because, you know, we're naive and we don't realize that the button that we're pushing is just going to allow people to inundate us with marketing messages. And now people just don't read email that much anymore at all. It's just part of our reality. And the same thing will happen, you know, same thing happened on social media. That used to be like the most amazing way to kind of keep up with people. And then it got inundated with completely fake way before AI. People were just staging everything. And then people just got used to the fact that they are going to be bombarded with this sensationalist content that's probably not real. And now, you know, they're blind to it. We're blind to banners. Remember when banners used to actually be an effective form of advertising?
It was some time ago.
But now we're blind to it. There's actually a term called banner blindness because it's just the evolution. And the same thing will happen. We'll see an influx of AI generated content just taking over more than it does now, believe it or not, taking over everything. To the point where normal, regular consumers that actually don't really use AI that much will start using it more and more. There'll be, you know, a peak of this. There'll be some backlash, and then everybody will just get used to, okay, there's a bunch of AI content. We probably just scroll right past it if it's not something of interest to us. And then it'll only work in the very specific niche that it's targeted at. Same as advertising, same as email. It'll still work. It'll just finally now it's like, all right, you're in this narrow lane. It only works for the people that are going to resonate with this message.
But I'm really interested to hear, like, do you feel that actually internet and social media in general as the way they are going to evolve? Because I have a feeling that what the internet that we are living in right now, I feel like is going to reshape and evolve with that. And same, you know, I have a lot of conversations about, for example, are websites going to have any future? Like, you know, when we're talking about agents coming and scouting out exactly what we want as from information to products and just, you know, being hungry for just that final answer. Like, you know, are we going to have the same type of website that we had before with AI engines, search engines? And so the same thing. So the same question is like, are we going to have the same type of social media? And is, you know, Web 2.0 actually going to stay in the same sort of frame as it is right now?
No, you 100%. You're right. All of it is probably going to completely reshape. But thus is the way technology shapes everything. Look, the internet is such a wonderful tool. When it was developed with kind of broad, like problem-solving concepts in mind, but it wasn't developed like thinking about how human input, how terrible it is, right? So it like that evolved into the machine, basically that is Google, for example, right? This huge technology stack that well before generative AI became a thing was using machine learning to try and figure out how to get around people putting just horrible stuff on the internet all the time. And the same thing will happen here, right? The rules will change, the format will change, all in an effort to continue to be helpful. So the interfaces might change too. We might see that we stop using search bars and we start using voice to chat assistants. I believe there will be a time in the future where everybody has their personal AI assistant on their phone, right? This is standard equipment for your cell phone or whatever device. It might not still be a little thing like this. It might be something else. And that's what we use to search. So yeah, like 100%, I think that's going to happen. Social media, the same thing. We'll have way more curated feeds that only show us exactly what our preference is. I mean, they started doing that before Gen AI, though. Like, remember the impact that the TikTok algorithm had on everybody? Because they were like, how is it serving me this content that gets so much of a reaction out of me? My emotions are on a roller coaster right now. That never happened. Instagram wasn't like that. YouTube wasn't like that. TikTok really reshaped the way feeds look. And now that's what they look like. AI is going to do the exact same thing.
I know, but there's also a thing that I worry about, which is over customization is flipping boring. You know how, like right now, I'm really turned off by Spotify. Like Spotify is just not delivering anything interesting. I'm just listening to the same whatever repertoire of like curated songs that I know to death. And even if I try to venture out, it's like, nope, you like these 20 songs, keep chewing on those. And so I wonder if, we'll end up in this, like I think AI for sure is going to make us dumber. But I think it's also going to make us more boring. There is, you laugh, but I read actually a whole article about how AI is already having an effect on how our prefrontal cortex actually develops when we use it.
That research was so wildly misinterpreted. No.
Okay.
Do you remember? Okay, I got to touch on this because I've seen it all over LinkedIn, and it's aggravating because of the media sensationalism. Do you remember before Papyrus, before people were writing down stuff on things?
I don't remember, but
but I mean, like in history class, you remember when you learned about that, right? There was a time before, like basically paper. You remember hearing about the philosophers in Greece that were these great orators, right? They had to memorize ridiculous. I mean, that's where the memory palace comes from. It's a whole system of memorization that came from that period of time because people just had to remember so much stuff, or else the stories wouldn't get passed down. Can you imagine what happened to people's brains after paper and they didn't have to memorize stuff anymore, right? We, as humans, started literally losing mass in the area of our brain that was responsible for holding all that memory. But what happened because of that is all of that brain power was then able to be redistributed in other places, and we saw huge technological advances. That's how the human brain works. It is absurd when people try to say, oh, this is making you dumber. No, it's making me less good at that because I don't need to be good at that anymore. My brain power is still there, though. Like, it didn't go away, right? It's like a battery that has 100% power capability. Like, it didn't just, like, AI is not going to make the battery go down. AI is just going to make the charge have to go somewhere else, or able to go somewhere else. So that's what's happening. Like,
that's the different thing. If you use it in a different place.
Well, but we have to. We're humans. Like, some people I'm sure are an exception, but for the most part, like the human brain, as long as it's healthy, it has to activate, and so it will. Anyway, so that's my take on that. But with regard to your concern about the algorithm, I don't think that's a problem because AI is so smart. So you're the type of person, just based on this brief portion of this conversation, that appreciates, I would say, adversarialism, right? So you're not just looking for, this is what I've always liked. You want to see some controversy, something that spikes your heart rate where you go, hold on a second. AI is going to be smart enough to learn that about you, right? So if it was a truly intelligent, artificially intelligent Spotify, for example, it would know that it needs to maybe like throw a polka song in there every now and again and get you to go, what, this crap? And then that'll tell it based on your reaction time, how much of it you did or did not actually like. And then it can reevaluate. And I think we'll see more of that. So the boring part, I'm not sure, just because we're dealing with some really, really smart tech, despite what people try to say about how dumb it can be.
All right, I can sleep calm now. We're not going to be dumb and we're not going to be boring. So it's all good, guys. You can sleep. You might be jobless, but it's all good.
Okay. Yep. Fair enough.
Right. I actually I want to, because I feel like a lot of people really listen to these podcasts as kind of an active way of education. And you are an educator. And I want to understand, like, for example, if somebody wants to learn about automations or start with automations, how can they do so? Like, what would you say is the best first step?
Sure. I mean, honestly, I feel like the best way to learn anything is to just go out there and get your hands dirty. Like, everything that I learned was from trial and error. I started on make.com. I moved over to NA10. Now I'm actually working with Google AI Studio, building Python agents, which I don't know programming languages. So this has been kind of a mind-blowingly awesome journey. So I think that you can get in there and just start playing with interfaces. And when you get stuck, two valuable resources, obviously AI. And then if AI gets caught in a loop and it can't help you, help forums. Somebody else has had the exact same problem, and you'd be amazed at how much you could find out. This is my process. AI, fix this. It doesn't. All right. Error, put it in Google. What pops up is like maybe a Stack Overflow. All right, I look at it. I don't understand any of this, but I copy it and go, AI, this is a problem somebody else had, and this was their solution. Tell me how to fix it now. And it goes, oh, great find. You're right. This is where I was wrong, and then it fixes it. So great opportunity there. I'm not really one for self-promotion, but I did.
Go on. Slide it in.
I did a course. A buddy of mine who's like probably the most talented video editor I've ever known was like, I want to put together a beautiful course with you as the educator. So AIautomation.cc, very simple, to the point. Right now, the course is primarily in make.com because I felt like that was the easiest place for beginners to start. It's primarily geared towards beginners. There's, the course content, which really goes over like, this is how you create automation workflows inside of this platform. And then Monday sessions, which are all recorded, which are live, like calls where I'm like, all right, we're going to build this. And then it's just step by step, like how it was built and what it does. And then we're launching an NA10 portion, which is going to be intermediary. So it's make.com is beginner, NA10 is intermediary. It's all about using the LangChain agents to actually build AI agents for the DIYers that love that. And that'll be launching pretty soon. So that's another opportunity for people to get an education on this topic outside of just going in there and playing with it themselves.
But what you just said sounds probably pretty technical for most people. Do they have to have any technical skill, or is it more of a, I'm passionate and smart enough to figure it out, I can?
Yeah, I don't think that it requires technical skill in the way that most of us think of technical skill, right? You don't have to know how to code. I didn't know the first thing about coding. It does help to know like what a JSON structure looks like, but I didn't know. I had to learn. Literally on the internet, spent like 2 hours just reading it. Oh, it's curly braces and double quotes. Like that's what it is. Just got to look it up. So it's like, do you have to have technical skills? Like I would say you have to be comfortable with utilizing the internet and search, and at this point now AI to increase your knowledge base. But outside of that, no. Like I dropped out of high school, so I have literally zero formal education on any of the stuff that I know how to do now. If that answers the question.
I mean, it does. And I actually do want to spend a few minutes talking about your journey because I've heard about it and it's very interesting. But before that, I'd like a few more technical questions. So when it comes to, like skilling up, like in the age of AI and automations and agentic, what would you say are the, the transferable or the most important skills that people, let's say in e-commerce, have to have in order to adapt to this kind of new AI era?
Okay, so I'll approach this from, actually, they're probably both the same answer though. The most valuable skill, 100% is an open mind to learn. Like, you go into it, you don't have to know the first thing. You just have to be, like I just said, comfortable with using the internet and maybe comfortable with speaking with an artificial intelligence interface for some of the more technical stuff. And that's it. Like, other than that, open mind. Interesting thing that I've noticed about humans is that a lot of times what we do is we shut ourselves completely down when it comes to a specific thing. I do it too, right? Learning languages, it's been so complicated for me. So now if you ask me, I'm like, I don't have the ability to do it. And when you think that way, you're actually right. But it turns out that a lot of the stuff is easier than you thought. So I meet people all the time that are just like, 100%, I cannot build a workflow like you. I can't do it. I don't have the brain that works that way. But it's like, literally, you click this button and then you drag it there. And then you click this button, you drag it there, and then it works. Like, what are you talking about? You can't do it. It's so if you can just get rid of that block and say, okay, like, I can learn new things. I can figure this out. I don't have to know everything. I mean, I'm coding in Python. I could not tell you a single word that goes into a line of Python code. Like, I'll recognize it if I read it now. But if you said, hey, tell me how to print hello world, I'd be like, I know hello world is in it. So, but if you're open to learning and you have the ability, you have the comfort with technology, you can get there. So that's the number one most important skill. I would say outside of that, specifically from the perspective of somebody maybe in the job market, because entrepreneurs, they'll just hire people that do the things that they can't do. But outside of that, like for the job market, or if you're a DIYer, another really valuable skill would just be not just learning how to use AI, but be more general, because everybody always wants to know that specific tool. Like, which tool can know? Be more general in understanding how to speak to AI interfaces, regardless of what form they take. It doesn't matter if it's a chat interface or an API, right? Do you know how to do an API call? It's actually not hard. Go to Postman. You could run it right there. Learn that, right? Whatever interface you can possibly connect with AI on, just figure out those. That'll be super valuable too. Because if you know how to call an LLM through an API, you know about 80% more than a lot of these CEOs that don't have the time to learn that one very, very simple skill. And they would pay you a ton of money. I know, because I'm that dude that they pay to do that. And API calls are actually really simple to learn. So those are the skills. Be open-minded and comfortable with technology, and figure out how to interface with AI in its various forms.
Which goes back to point number one, like, absolutely. And this is the thing, like, from my point of view and my personal perspective, that has always been my philosophy to life is, right now we've been living in the most amazing age of, we have the internet, and the internet is free knowledge. If you set your mind to it, you can learn absolutely anything. I have self-educated myself on most of the things that I do for my day-to-day job, and it's worked. So, I think it's just about the attitude. So yes. 100%. Okay, one more boring question, and then an exciting question. So because people love the question about toolkit. So what is in your toolkit?
You mean like what the tech stack that I use?
Exactly.
Okay. I have a Claude Pro account, not the Max, right? Just the regular Pro account. And the reason is because what I like to do is anytime I take on a project, I'll go find all of the documentation on that project, right? API docs, or like for NA10, all of the how to use our platform docs. I'll take them, I'll turn them into TXT files. And sometimes this means that I've built scrapers before, so usually I do that. But in the past, this has meant I had to copy and paste it all, put it into Notepad, which is fine too. Take all the documents, I create a project in Claude out of it. Now Claude knows everything that there needs to be known on that particular topic. I use this to create the documentation I need, right? So I'll go to Claude, for example, if this is like an NA10 project, and I'll say, this is what I want to do in NA10. Outline the most efficient way to do it and give me a document on that. I'll do that, for example. That's like the step one. And then I'll use it to answer the really, really difficult questions that Gemini Pro 2.5 can't. Because right now, Google AI Studio and gives you 1 million tokens for free in any session. And let me just tell you from experience, it's hard to get to 1 million tokens. That's a lot. Like, you're spending a lot of time with that thing.
You've tried.
So, I got to 565,000. That was as far as I could get. So I take those documents and I put it inside of a Google Drive, and then I go into AI Studio and I upload all of them there. And this is where I'm going to do most of my work, is Google AI Studio. And, how do you do this? Give me the code for this. Give me the JSON output for this, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I run into a problem, I take that initial document that I got Claude to provide for me, and I put it in there. And then when I run into a problem, I come back to Claude and I go, this was the errors. I can't seem to fix it. Claude usually smart enough to figure it out. And then I come back to Google AI Studio after the problem is solved, and we keep working. For the most part, that is probably 95% of what I use. Outside of that, for workflows, it's NA10. I still have plenty of workflows within NA10 that run, and that's where I'll do like prototyping. For example, if I come up with an app idea or something, that's the first place I want to build it, because I want to make sure that it works. I see that it works before I move to the next step, which is probably going to be coding something in Python. My computer has a ton of libraries in it. I don't know what they are, but they help stuff work in Python. So, and then for deployment, Railway is awesome, and it's super cheap. It's like $5 a month. I love it. Supabase for databases, Qdrant for vector databases, Zep AI for chat memory, because it uses graph memory, which is like awesome. It's incredible. I cannot say enough about that. Notion for like if I want to make something pretty documentation wise, and then Stripe for payment processing. So, and then that's the tech stack. Basically 99.9% of what I use.
Amazing. Okay, so last question before we finished. Actually, tell us a little bit about your journey, because I think it's a really interesting story.
So probably what year is this? 2025. So a little over a decade ago, probably 11 years ago, I was a copywriter at a web design firm. I commuted to work an hour one way. So 2 hours a day, right? To write copy for, contractor websites. And I learned so much about roofing and HVAC. It was crazy. And on the weekends, I was a waiter at a seafood restaurant, and I didn't make a lot of money at all. But before that, I had been full time in a restaurant, and that was wearing on my soul. So when I got the job as a copywriter, I felt good. Like I was not making much money at all, but I felt good. So I guess that put me in the right mindset. I saw randomly a video. I don't even know how I saw it on Facebook, a video from Ryan Daniel Moran about selling your own brand of products on Amazon using this thing called FBA. I didn't know anything about. Literally that moment, I was like, I got to figure this out. I had no money, but I found a way I had been slowly building a little bit of credit. So I was able to get 3 credit cards. I maxed all 3 of them out in order to sign up for the course that Ryan was promoting so I could be a part of his group, and then also get my initial product order. Whenever I figured out what product I was going to sell, I found a supplier on Alibaba and literally did this hack where I used one account, PayPal, to pay for a fake purchase from another account, PayPal, so I could have the cash to buy the product. I'm pretty sure that is barely legal, if at all, but I did it and it worked, and I didn't get in trouble for it. And that funded my first inventory run. And then my first month on Amazon sold like $30,000 worth of product. Immediately, a buddy of mine started a company, wanted me to come work for him. That's how I ended up becoming the literal president of Zonblast, which later became SixLeaf before I moved over to Helium 10. And then at the same time, I was speaking on stages all over the world about the Amazon algorithm, because that was my obsession the whole time. That was my entire obsession. And yeah, that was a fun run, but keeping up with physical inventory was just, I don't know, it was kind of a grind. Especially because like bad decisions can compound in that world. So for example, me and my wife designed this whole new type of baby carrier, and I was really excited about this. We had a baby brand, really excited about this. And it completely flopped because we didn't ask anybody's opinion. We just did it like, this is what we like. That's, by the way, not a good idea. Like, definitely take your own tastes into consideration because you're probably not alone in the world, but you want to try to not make the niche so narrow. And we should all we would have had to have done is just ask a handful of probably 100 people their opinion, and we could have gotten the right design. But because we were so dead set on getting the design we wanted, it completely flopped. We made 0 sales, the most expensive product that we had, and it tanked the brand because all of our money was gone. We tied like $60,000 into that. It was a wash. It was even more expensive to get rid of the inventory. It was it was crazy. Anyway, so that was the end of the baby brand. And after that, I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore, because like it was good, and when it was good, and then it wasn't good. And that was when I went into this state of limbo before, I started down the journey that I'm at now. But yeah, the journey's been really, really interesting because I think like the most valuable thing that I have been able to do for my own life and for my family is I guess, how else do I put this? Stay relevant. Like, I look at what the market's doing and I'm like, this is something, I have so much ADHD, I could probably master that. And so that's what I did. I'm going to master Amazon. And then I did that. And now it's like, I'm going to master this AI and automation thing. And, it's ADHD. That's the power. So if you have it, you're in a good place.
But I think this is total superpower. I think the ability to reinvent yourself at the right time, in the right place, and just to like give it all, it's amazing. So I'm just going to pop this question from John Aspinall, and I'll leave you to answer it.
Who he really is, because without the sunglasses, I cannot confirm. Yeah, so
go on.
This is like apparently my alter ego is this.
It's a strong look. It's a strong look.
No, it's me. It's we're the Clark Kent thing. Like,
yeah. Oh my God, is it you? Oh my God. There we go. All right. On that note, so Anthony, would you firstly like for people to get in touch with you, and if you do, how can they do so?
I mean, I'm happy. This is my favorite conversation in the world to have. So I'm totally happy to converse with people. I think the easiest place, because it's the place I'm spending the most time right now, is LinkedIn. I still have my Instagram going, but I'm not in that space as much. But LinkedIn, I'm easy to find there, and you can absolutely reach out, DM, comment. I am all about it. Outside of that, my personal, you can hit my email too, info@AIPlusAutomation.com. AI Plus Automation's one of the websites that I run. So whatever.
Whatever, guys. Awesome. All right, Anthony, it was a really, really interesting and great conversation. And thank you so much for being our guest today.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This is a fun conversation. I'm always up for it.
Awesome. Right. And to our listeners and viewers, see you again next week.